to the meeting this evening, and we welcome all viewers. The meeting of July 22nd has the agenda has about 141 pages. We certainly welcome some faces other than council here. We're very pleased to have our auditor, Christina Scrimger. And we also have Kara Finn that we'll be hearing from later. Dirk Vanderwerf, we're pleased to have him. And ladies and gentlemen, our new CBO, Shanna Black, is with us, and we'll be hearing from them later. We'll have the record indicate that the meeting is called to order at 7:02. Today's meeting is being held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency in order to keep everyone safe. We are taking this measure to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Although this is a virtual meeting, we will attempt to record, stream live, and publish in accordance with Council's economic recording of meeting policy. Due to the pandemic and the requirement for social distancing to keep you safe, we are not able to allow the public to attend this meeting. Normally, by attending an open public meeting of the municipality of Southwest Middlesex, you are consenting to your image, voice, and/or comments being recorded and published. Today's meeting may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex website. Again, thank you for your attendance. Council, number 2 on the agenda, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Is there any member of council declaring a pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, additions to the agenda. Seeing none, may I have a motion that the regular agenda of council dated July 22nd, 2020 be accepted as presented? Moved by Councillor Cow.
No, I have a comment.
Oh yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said additions to the agenda. I would like to have it so that the bylaw proposed for masking comes up for discussion under, I guess, new business or whatever it could be proposed, but I'd like to have it come out of the bylaw area so that we can discuss it.
Okay, under new business.
Thank you.
Okay. So the motion would read that the regular agenda of council dated July 22nd be accepted as presented with the inclusion that the bylaw regarding the masking be relocated to new business for discussion. Would someone move that?
I'll move.
Thank you, Councillor Bartlett. A second for that. Councillor Cow, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Delegations and presentations. We have before us Kristen's favorite night, the draft financial statements and the auditor's report. Christina, we welcome you to the council, and we'll give you the pleasure of taking the floor. Thank you for your attendance.
Good evening, everyone. I believe you have the draft financial statements in your package, and I will go through them as if I was in person. And please stop me if you have any questions as I'm going through them, or if I haven't explained something to your liking, and we will attempt to get all the questions answered. These are the draft financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019. They are dated as of tonight's date, which is hopefully the date that those charged with governance under the Canadian auditing standards approve these statements, being council. It is a clean audit opinion, which means that I have not found anything materially incorrect. When I say material, I mean for your municipality, we've set materiality at 160,000. However, that does not mean that I only look at transactions over 160,000. In fact, every transaction that flows through the municipality is eligible for audit and selection. When we go through your systems, we look at purchases, we look at accounts payable, accounts receivable, taxes receivable. So all of those systems are audited, looking at internal controls. I do want to thank your staff, especially Kristen and the rest of her staff, for their assistance in getting this audit done. As you can imagine, in COVID, auditing is not exactly easy, and so we have they've been more than generous with their time and getting us the items we need off-site. And then we did spend significant time in the fall when we do our interim testing on-site, and then did spend a couple days on-site as well at the end. So we have been there, but we haven't been there as much as we normally are. So they've facilitated that lovely. So I'll go through the first statement, which is your statement of financial position, which is your balance sheet. I'll highlight some things that I think council will be interested in as far as where your financial position is. I'll remind council that that line about a third or 2/3 down the page called net financial assets, that would be the amount that you would have in the bank if all your liabilities were paid and all your assets were recognized, other than your capital assets. And so you can see there's been about a 50% increase in that. So that just means that your net cash position at the end of 2019 is about 1.2 million higher than it was at the end of 2018. Under that line are the items that you need to have in place in order to provide the services you do. So your tangible capital assets obviously being the largest one. So these are not items that you can sell to make, to facilitate more cash. You need them in place. And so I'm always looking at to ensure that you're replacing those capital assets at least equal to what the amortization is each year. And you can see that you've increased your net position in tangible capital assets plus the capital work in progress has increased about $800,000. So you've replaced assets in excess of amortization of about 800,000. You've done that by, when we get to the note on the breakdown of the accumulated surplus, you've done that by increasing your reserves as well as repaying about $500,000 of new debt of debt without taking out any new debt. The only new debt this year is about a $15,000 municipal drain loan, but that doesn't affect, that's paid by the ratepayer, so that's not coming out of your taxation rate. So all that to say that at the end of the year, you have an accumulated surplus of 72 million versus 70 million last year. Any questions on that statement at all? Okay, continuing on. We'll get to the statement of operations and accumulated surplus. And again, I'll just highlight some of the higher level items that I think would be of interest to council. Your overall revenue over budget was about 1.2 million higher than was budgeted. And there's a couple reasons for that. One was the modernization grant that you received in 2019 that was not budgeted for, and that was 569,000. In addition, the water wastewater rates, we had about $300,000 more revenue than what we had budgeted. And again, that goes over to the water wastewater surpluses. So that doesn't affect the general surplus. As well, we received more building permit revenue of about 100,000. So all those things added together is the reason for your revenue actual being over your revenue budget. Under expenditures, I will remind council that we do not budget for amortization. We budget for the actual capital that we purchase. And so in the actual numbers is amortization, but in the budgeted numbers is the actual capital costs. And you'll notice most of the lines are pretty consistent with the budget, and that's because we're replacing assets, as I mentioned, at the value of the amortization. The only area that isn't the case is in transportation services, which is we did budget significant road work and new capital of 1.5 million in 2019. Our amortization for public works is only about 700,000. So that's the difference there. Otherwise, all of them are very consistent with what was budgeted. The revenue over expenditures line, so that line after revenue and expenditures, is really how you're covering your operating costs plus amortization with your taxation dollars. And you can see that we've doubled the position from 2018. So at the end of 2018, it was 429,000. The end of 2019, it's 995,000. So again, a good indicator that we're increasing our ability to put away to reserves. Everything under that line are related to capital, so items that are not consistent from year to year and give rise depending on the capital expenditures and the grants that we enjoy. Coming down to that accumulated surplus at the end of the year of the 72 million I mentioned on the balance sheet. Any questions? Oh. Mayor Mayhew?
Yes, Christine.
Yeah, yes, go ahead. Martin, I see your hand up, followed by Councillor Bartlett.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Allen. So Christine, you touch on the user charges. The user charges, that all comes directly from the taxpayers. And when I do a quick calculation, does that mean that we charge our taxpayers an extra $560,000 this year?
As I mentioned when I was going through it, the user charges, about over 300,000 of that increase is water rates, so increased water usage. And then the remaining was an increase in building permit revenue. So those are all things related to growth.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Martin, you see it appear to be
Well, we
frozen.
also increased the water rates as well.
Right.
Okay,
Pardon me.
okay. Councillor Bartlett, go ahead with your question to Christina.
Through you, Mayor, to Christine. Under other revenue and expenditures, there was a loss on disposal of capital assets of 187,000. Just wondering what that was from.
Okay, so that's a net of two things. So we sold a building on Main Street, so that we did have a gain on that sale. And then the offset, so when we pull up any roads or water, wastewater, but it's mainly roads, we are amortizing them over a long period of time. However, if we pull them up, a lot of times we recognize a loss on those disposals because we don't get any money for it. So we're basically taking off layers, we're disposing of those, and then we're replacing them with new.
Oh, okay.
It's really just it's a valuation of your amortization, whether your amortization policy for road work. And again, every road and every surface treatment is a little bit different, and how long it lasts, and obviously the amount of traffic that goes on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Council, any other questions? Christine, if I could, is there any chance you could just give a windshield executive summary of our shape? It appears that we are in reasonably good shape in terms of a verbal statement on that.
Sure. If you want to turn to the note number 8, I think this is the best sort of summary, as you mentioned, of where we're at. So we know at the end of the day that we are going to have landfill closure and post-closure costs. So we've got that as a negative surplus there, which is basically saying that at some point in time, we're going to have to raise that money from rates or reserves to pay for that. And that's that estimate that we did back, I believe, 2015. And again, we'll continue to monitor. Yeah, it was done in 2015. Continue to monitor that as we go forward. But then we have so you see invested in tangible capital assets, that's that increase there of 1.5 million.
Yes.
So we've reinvested so that in capital assets, so that serves us well. And then our reserves as well. So doing all of that new capital, we've still been able to save money in our reserves. So our reserves are increased about 360,000 overall between reserves and reserve funds. So those things are all positive. Obviously, capital projects and government grants are very up in the air at this point. Government grants are very up in the air, and we have to continue to do capital projects. And so where we go going forward, we have very little debt. Your ARL, which is what the Ministry of Municipal Affairs calculates based on your FIR filed each year, is in good shape. So you're not close to the limits there. It really depends on what projects we get into going forward. But we certainly are in a better shape than we were at the end of 2018 and continue to be there.
Good, thank you. Council, last call for questions.
I will just make a couple other comments that I just want to, note 14 has been updated for the landfill closure, various things that have happened and as recent as this past month on the Limerick site. As well, there's a new note under commitments with regards to the new daycare that the municipality is going to be in 2020. And then also there's the COVID note at note 15, which basically just says that the impact of COVID is unknown, that you're following the restrictions as required, and we'll wait to see what happens there. So that's all I had more things I had to say there.
Okay, well, thank you once again, Christina, for looking after our needs here. And I would be remiss not to thank Krista McGill as well. And our congratulations for getting us through another year, and that they appear to be appealing statements. Thank you again.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night, Christine. Mayor Mayhew, I will move the recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Moved by Councillor or Deputy Mayor Wilkins that the draft financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019 be accepted. Seconder for that, please. Councillor Carruthers. Any questions, Council? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. The next presentation is from a familiar face, Kara Finn and Dirk Vanderwerf. 4.2's Community Improvement Plan. Welcome, Kara. Welcome, Dirk. We're very pleased to have you here, and please feel free to take over our computers, okay?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you to all of council and to administration for inviting Dirk and I to speak with you this evening. Can I just find out from Jill or Sheila, am I sharing my screen or are you sharing it for me?
Go ahead, Jill, I'll let you, or
Yep. So I just made you a co-host, Kara, but if you'd like, I can pull it up.
Nope, I've got it right here and I can do that. I just didn't want to override anything that you might be doing. So can everyone see my screen?
we can.
Perfect. All right, and we should be in good motion. So again, I want to thank council, but I also want to thank your Economic Development Committee, the reason why we're here. And for those of you that are a member of that committee, this will seem a little like deja vu, as it's the same presentation with just one addition to it this evening with respect to some partnership together with the county that might be possible. So tonight we're going to talk to you about community improvement plans, the sort of what and why about them, and how next steps might be taken by the municipality in terms of adopting this type of development. So Dirk and I are going to tag team a little bit, and I'm going to do my best to keep things in line with the slides. So let me see if, there we go. So tonight's agenda is just this. It's basically what is a CIP, talk about some key administrative findings with respect to CIPs, considerations to take into account as a council, and then next steps. Okay. So I'm going to let Dirk take this first part, which really defines the CIP.
Well, thank you, Kara, and Mayor and Council. Thanks for having us out tonight in a virtual sense, at least. So the CIP, I won't go through the definition in detail, and I would say that Sheila's report does a great job of sort of summarizing it in a paragraph and a half. But essentially, a community improvement plan is created under the Planning Act, but it allows municipalities to do what they traditionally aren't allowed to do, which is to provide funds, provide incentives to private sector individuals and landowners to undertake certain works based on criteria with municipal goals in mind. So municipalities are otherwise prohibited from bonusing or giving money to individuals, and this allows within a framework that to occur.
Thank you, Dirk. And you'll see there on the screen, it says Community Improvement Plan Primer. So this document was actually commissioned by the county. We were able to partner with the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc at the tail end of 2019 to develop a Community Improvement Plan Primer. And what that does is it acts as a template for the possibilities and the explanation of what a CIP can do for a community. That document was presented to your administration and also was presented to your Economic Development Committee, which is sort of the catalyst for bringing us to the point of making presentations to each municipality about where we go from here. So some key administrative findings. So why would we even look at CIPs? Well, there's sort of three reasons here. The first is that it was brought forward in the 2014 to 2019 Middlesex County Economic Development Strategic Plan under the goal number 1, which was a supportive environment for business investments. One of the actions specifically noted there was to explore opportunities to create CIPs within Middlesex County and look at grants and incentives to jumpstart small business development and investment. The second thing was that within the agricultural strategy recommendations, which were done back in 2015, there was also the notation of developing a CIP related in specific to agritourism and the agricultural sector. And Dirk and I will explain more about how that could be possible as we move forward. And then finally, in your own Southwest Middlesex Strategic Plan, which was just finalized in 2019, under increasing employment opportunities, there's a specific reference made to CIPs related to increasing employment opportunities within your municipality. So that's some of the key reasons why we brought the CIP idea and development to your attention. Dirk, this is one of your favorite topics, ministerial guidelines. So you want to walk the council through this?
Okay, thank you. Kara knows that I love regulations and guidelines. So I think it's, as I said earlier, it's under the Planning Act is the piece of legislation that enables municipalities to create CIPs. It is by and large, however, a local or lower tier municipal responsibility. Having said that, you know, if you've ever been to an economic development conference or maybe an AMO or a Good Road session, you sometimes hear about counties that have CIPs and that do a lot of great things. But there is certain counties can be prescribed, and there are also counties out there that are, as you know, single tier municipalities. Places like Prince Edward County has done a lot on this. Norfolk County has done a lot. Of course, next door to you, Chatham-Kent is a single tier municipality. So they function differently under the legislation. So it's not really a county program. There is, however, a trend I think that we're seeing, and Elgin is the closest example I think that I would highlight for you. And Kara's going to talk more about this later, where each individual municipality does a CIP that suits their particular needs in their community, but it can be supported by a county and by a broader sort of both financially and resources as Kara's folks are doing. So we are seeing that. And again, I think Elgin, their e-Centos program is probably a good one to look at for that. There has been a change in the last few years in that it is no longer a requirement that the province, or the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, approves community improvement plans. They must be consulted prior to, if you were to create one and adopt it. But it really is only a consultation nowadays. And that really puts the authority with you to pass a bylaw, and the ministry gets to provide feedback and input, but they are no longer the approval authority as it was a number of years ago.
Thank you, Dirk. So as Dirk said, municipalities are required to pre-consult with MMAH during the process, and they have to ensure that the public has been consulted, but they do not actually need their approval. So once it is adopted by lower tier or municipal council, it is in effect at that time. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the competitive norms. So lots of communities that surround the county of Middlesex have CIPs in effect. And actually, I'll talk about the ones within the county as well. But City of London, Grey County, as was mentioned, Elgin County, Windsor, Hamilton has a huge CIP program like no other. Perth County has them for the city of Stratford and the town of St. Mary's as well. So they are becoming more the norm. We are seeing them in Wellington County as well at the current time. And here in Middlesex County, we've actually had 2 CIPs in place for a very lengthy period of time. They actually got developed during the days of my work on the Main Street Middlesex project. So for those of you that have known me that long, that was some time ago. But Strathroy-Caradoc has had one in place for downtown Strathroy, Mount Bridges, and Melbourne. And Middlesex Centre has one that has been in place for downtown Ilderton. I'll talk a little bit about more about how that's changing coming up, but I can tell you that both of those communities have committed in the last 8 months to expanding their CIPs. So both will be extending them to things outside of the downtown. And particularly in Middlesex Centre, their CIP will be extended this year to other areas of the community, not just Ilderton. Forms of incentive take place in a number of ways. Oftentimes they are grants, sometimes very small in nature. Sometimes they take place in terms of low interest or 0% loans. And other times they take place whereby there's no cost at the beginning to the municipality of any kind. The actual incentive will be a tax or a development charge equivalent grant, which means that it's money that is not yet received by the municipality, and therefore there's no outlay of cost at the beginning of the program. So those are different forms that you will see take place. Dirk, do you want to talk about considerations, sort of where we're at now based on timing and cost and where we see this going?
Yeah, well, thank you. You know, as the slide has laid out, there's sort of 4 steps. And the first one, which is we believe is the right approach, which was the county with the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc did create the CIP primer, which is a great document, which hopefully, if you haven't read yet, you'll take a review through it. It sort of sets a framework, or it takes the general provincial legislation, we believe, and sort of sets up what municipalities within the county could do. The next step would be if a municipality chooses to go forward, there is a process, you know, a bit like a land use planning process in terms of an official plan kind of study, where there is a consultation and community engagement. We think that takes, you know, roughly a year, give or take. And of course, that does take some funds. And then Kara is going to talk about, I think she's added a slide later in about the sort of unique position that is available, or the unique opportunity that's available to Southwest right now. Then when we've seen this done elsewhere, there's the initial implementation. And that frankly does tend to take, we see that there are more applications. There's something new. There's been through the consultation and engagement process, people have found out about it, people are interested. And so you'll get a bit of a spike, some pent up demand, if you will. Then after that couple of years, typically the numbers may go down a little bit, but it is a long-term game, if you will. It is the sort of thing that we really believe that municipalities, you know, 1 year of this program is not enough to make a change in a downtown community. For example, it takes successive years, small improvements, small changes over time that cumulatively sort of build within the community towards the goals that are established right back in the first step.
So I want to talk to you a little bit now about scope, because traditionally CIPs were in lots of cases considered to be Main Street, downtown revitalization type of efforts. And the idea of what a CIP can be is really identified in terms of a suite of potential offerings that can be made available to communities to do a whole barrage of things that are outside of the norm of just being a downtown investment. So I've given you sort of a traditional and expanded and a major investment as ideas of potential to just show you how broad ranging CIPs have become. So this first one is a more traditional view. So back in 2016, this is an example where Norfolk County approved a building facade improvement for a couple with a downtown property, and they got $594, which was the form of an interest-free loan. And then they also got another $594 that was a grant, and that was for new windows and a door on their property in the downtown of Simcoe. So that's pretty traditional. That's a lot of what you'd hear, and that's a lot of where things started with, say, Strathroy Caradocs program and the Ilderton downtown CIP. The expanded view takes more of this type of approach. So in central Elgin, it was announced that Great Lakes Farms in Southwold was approved for one of their Elgin incentive grants. And that was for the conversion of their building. And that grant was $11,500. And it was to convert that barn into a cold storage facility. So that was for retail and tourism in the ag sector. So again, an expanded view, not the traditional norm that you maybe would have seen, but the Elgin incentive program involves the allowance for agritourism. And then we can go the whole other scope, which is a major investment. So in Welland, they landed a $250 million investment, and it was to create 220 jobs initially. And that was for General Electric when they opened their doors in 2018. So the incentives were part of the city's status as a gateway community improvement plan project. So this was industrial development. And overall, between the tax incentives, the development charge rebates, that sort of thing, they'd be looking at $37 million in savings on that. So again, this is part of a CIP. So again, those funds wouldn't necessarily be outlays at the beginning for the municipality, but they would not be recovering those taxes over time. So not suggesting that this is the, the barrage of things you would want to offer in a municipality like Southwest Middlesex, but just to give you an idea of how wide ranging the programs are that can be given consideration. So I'm going to bounce these in, Dirk, and this is just going to kind of be your chance to talk about, again, variety.
Yeah, it's, I think back to, and Kara's already alluded to this, traditionally CIPs were downtown facade improvement programs, benches and new signs and awnings and that sort of thing. But the legislation is quite broad, and what we see as sort of best practices has really increased and become more diverse as people have looked for different opportunities. So I'll just highlight a couple. The housing grant, I think, is an important one. I think housing and affordable housing and housing affordability is an issue that all of our communities are dealing with, and a CIP is one tool that can look at that, and often relates to development charges, the forgiving of development charges when housing that is more affordable is created. The rural grant is, the Elgin Incentives program is a good example of that. And it's often business signage. It's often those smaller sort of farm gate type operations or places that are adding sort of value to traditional agricultural uses that attract people out in sort of a tourism blend. Heritage and brownfields are the more traditional opportunities. The Win the Space programs often get a lot of attention depending on the type of more of a downtown core. But I think one of the ones also that municipalities find attractive is the development charges or building permit, either fee rebates or incremental tax grant program, where, as Kara has already said, you have a certain level of taxation that would occur today if nothing was to change. A redevelopment occurs and the taxes are going to go up, but to allow that to be phased in over time realizing a benefit to the person that are taking the development, but not, it's money that the municipality wasn't going to realize if the development didn't occur. But I would just highlight that the primer on planning document there's a number of appendices for each of these topics, and it does explain them a little better, and it gives examples and some budget numbers and some sort of things to consider that. So I would recommend another look at that also.
Yeah. So thanks, Dirk. So yeah, so this just kind of gives you an idea of how broad ranging or how limited, depending, on the needs of your community. And we're going to talk about that, how they might be. The other one that is brand new, that people are finding a way to fit into the equation is COVID recovery grants. And so having a CIP in place has certainly been an advantage to communities who have that in their ability to quickly offer relief programming to businesses. And so we've seen some of that taking place in our communities, particularly in the downtown ones as well. Okay. So what are the benefits of having a CIP in place? Here they are. Really, it does become an attraction piece. The number one question that planning and economic development folks generally get asked is, what are the incentives to moving into a community, as a particularly in competition with another? And so CIPs can provide a bit of that incentive. Also, in terms of business retention, it is in the ability to show appreciation for those making an investment in your community. And one of the things I want to be really clear about is there's very few opportunities to have a program whereby you get an immediate return on your investment like you do with a CIP. So CIPs are generally matched or greater than matched investments. Generally, no money goes out until investments are taking place, and therefore there's that immediate return that you don't see with other types of publicly funded services. Usually you're creating things and waiting for a return. In this case, the return comes immediately. So it is a way to basically retain those businesses. And we're seeing a lot of that type of pivoting and investment taking place, particularly post-COVID right now. As I said, with business attraction comes that competitive advantage. If you happen to have a CIP in place that's attractive to someone, whereas the next community does not, it does provide that. It is that catalyst for private investment, and it does result in increased tax assessment. The challenges. So why do people, why doesn't everybody have a CIP? Well, I mean, there's always the argument on offering incentives versus offering lower taxation. I guess the argument to lower taxation and to providing these incentives goes back to what I just said in terms of an immediate return on investment and an increased tax assessment that would not otherwise be realized. So ultimately, it pays back into the system. Also is assessment versus usage in terms of, do we want to provide the funds to one thing and not the other? Scope versus current needs. Again, and I'm going to be very honest, no CIP should ever be left on in its current form and not reviewed. CIPs need to be reviewed. They are long-term investments. They need to be reviewed on an annual basis to ensure that they are meeting the current needs of the community. That is the reason why public engagement is a necessary part of the process in developing a CIP, and it has to remain a part of the process. It's like writing a business plan and never revising it. It's never written in stone. You have to make sure that you're adapting and flowing to what the needs are. And of course, you have to consider the fact that there is finite budgets, and annual demand may exceed those finite budgets at time. Sometimes that creates, as Dirk says, that pent up demand, and that's kind of expected in the first couple of years of a program. Usually that plateaus by about year 3, and you see more of a consistent demand, or you would see a dip in demand if as I say, you're not going back and looking at the scope of your CIP versus what the community needs at the current time. Okay. So, Dirk, you want to talk about next steps?
Okay, and I almost think we should have switched these slides, Kara, because you're going to talk about a special opportunity. I don't wanna
Yeah,
steal
very
that.
special things.
I don't want to steal that thunder, but basically, you know, it was, I don't know if it was February, probably, we were spoke to your economic development committee, and I think they provided their thoughts to you on that. In the end, it really is, there's a decision point for council, for you to make the decision if a CIP is the right fit for your community and whether to proceed. You know, there's a role for council to identify those sort of community needs and then engage a consultant and start to develop a program. And it is, Kara's going to get to this about some of the supports from that may be available from county council. But in the end, under the legislation, it really is a local municipal responsibility. It's their jurisdiction to do it. And I really, as a planner, I really believe it's the right location for it too. You know, what is the right thing for Southwest Middlesex is not the same as what's the right thing for downtown Strathroy. I really think that you know, having a CIP based on your community's needs is one of the key goals, of course. As we've said before, the CIP does have to be reviewed by the province, but in the end, after that review and their input, it would be a bylaw that council passes. And then there's the implementation plan, and the guideline document does talk a bit about that and how, you know, how Sheila would work with a committee or a group to sort of review applications and whatnot, and you'd get into those details later. And then the final thing, as with anything that's forward thinking, you know, it is important to not just do it and to let it sit. It's the way you know, especially after the first couple of years, and there's that kind of key point where you step back and you say, you know, this is what we had in mind. This is what's happened. Is that the right thing? Do we need to take a bit of a change in direction? And then after that, every couple of years, I think it is important to sort of, take a look at it and make sure it's still meeting what council thinks is the right thing for the community.
So this is a really exciting time in sort of the history of looking at CIPs from a Middlesex County perspective. As noted, we were able to pay for the primer to be developed to give to each of our lower tier municipalities to see if there was interest. And based on that, we've moved forward with a plan this year, which has funding, which is available at this time for 2020 only, to partner on a 50% basis with municipalities that are looking to develop a CIP. So that was unanimously approved by council on June 23rd. I can tell you that since that time, Luke and Badolf has proceeded. They have already hired their consultant, and we have already partnered with them in the development of a CIP for their communities. And also since that time, this was available for existing CIPs that wanted to be redeveloped. Strathroy-Caradoc we had already partnered with in 2019, but in 2020, we are now partnering with Middlesex Centre to redevelop theirs. And so that opportunity exists for Southwest Middlesex should it decide that it would like to proceed with the development of a CIP. And we can assist obviously in that process of getting that to come to fruition. The other thing that is available for those communities that already have CIPs in place, we also approved funding up to 25%, up to a max of $1,000 per project toward any municipal CIP grants related to COVID relief to businesses. So if a business in a CIP covered area needed to make modifications in order to continue in business post-COVID, we do have that allowance in here as well. And as Dirk said, it's really important for us that you have CIPs that are geared to your community. It really is all about looking at those local needs. And Southwest Middlesex obviously has more than one community that has the opportunity for CIP involvement. You know, I think most people think about downtown Glencoe as being an obvious choice, but you've made a significant investment in your industrial lands. You have other communities such as Wardsville and Middlemiss that could be developed in other ways and could be assisted by CIPs. And so through the development and through consultation, those needs would be able to come to the forefront, and you would be able to look at what types of supports you could possibly put in place to move that forward. So the ultimate goal of Dirk and I being here tonight is to remind you that we're here to help. And County Council has put dollars behind this effort to say that if this is the direction that communities wish to go in, we are here to assist you, not only from a planning and economic development advice perspective, but also from a budgetary perspective for 2020. So with that, we are open to whatever questions you may have.
Thank you, Kara, very much. Thank you, Dirk. That's a second time I've seen it, and it was just as interesting the second time around. Kara, thank you again. Perhaps if we could go back, Kara, to full screen so that I can view my council.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
yeah.
Good. Thank you, council. I have you back, and staff. At this time, I'll ask you to direct your questions to the chair, through the chair to Kara or Dirk, and I'm sure you'll have some. Go ahead, council. Yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead. And Mike, you're on mute there, so I'll just ask you to come off mute.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Between what we've heard tonight and C and Sheila's detailed report, I'd like to move that we move forward with the staff recommendations as presented.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Scholdice, that's a surprise and very nice. Thank you. I'll ask for a seconder for that, and then we'll entertain questions. Councillor Cal, is that a seconder for that motion? Yes, thank you very much, Krista. We will give adequate time for discussion and questions, council. Thank you very much, the two councillors that moved that motion. I'll entertain questions, and we can just tell me who to direct them to, Kara or Dirk or Sheila. Go ahead, council. Just perhaps, yes, go ahead, Councillor Bartlett. You're on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not a question, it's more of a statement. And I think we should be looking at this as not an expense, but an investment. I think anything that we can do to help Southwest Middlesex, no matter which area, anything we can do, and with their help, I would certainly support this.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Bartlett. Any further questions? Council, if I could, to Kara. Kara, I know it's a regurgitation of what's been said, but there's only the county will provide 50% of the funding for this, and we have about a 5-month window to take advantage of that. So I think our timing is very good. I was very pleased that you brought in both Ward 1 and Ward 3 in your presentation on possible entities that could be where improvements could be made. We are interested in the progression of the entire municipality, and I was extremely pleased to hear that. Any other questions, council? Okay, I'll call the question. Oh yes, Councillor Vink, was that a question?
Yes, Mayor Mayhew. Is there a limit to what the budget would be every year, or is that established by council?
I think I'm going to direct that to Jill. I think Jill, you're with us. Could you entertain to answer Martin's question?
Sure. We could also invite Sheila or Dirk or Kara to pop in
Yeah.
on this
Okay.
one for sure, but through you, Mayor Mayhew. The process would start with a public consultation piece and then come back for council's approval as to what kind of proposals council wishes to entertain based on the feedback they get from the consultation. So very much it would come back to council for a decision as to what the incentives would be through a community improvement plan.
That's correct, through your chair, and we are more than open to working with your administration to ensure that they receive good value with respect to the consultation period. And we can also provide some ideas with respect to budgets that have been placed in similar communities.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, council? And thank you very much for answering Councillor Vink's question there. If I could, to our guests, Kara, we just recently had an economic development strategy produced by the McSweeney. And with that in place, does that give us kind of a jump start or a springboard to get this thing going in some way? Or will there be some contributing ideas from that economic development strategy?
Absolutely. You are definitely in an advantageous position in that you have just so recently developed that economic development strategic plan. Much of that data and research will be able to inform your CIP, and then together with the public engagement that would normally be part of this process, they would be able to build upon those thoughts to develop your CIP, I would think, in a fairly relatively short period of time, so that you would be in a good position to look at planning for 2021 and assigning budget as you see. And
my last question, I perhaps starting small, and it's a long-term process. It's not something you dive right into, so we will enter it with budgetary matters in mind, and it's a continuing process, and we start small, and over a period of time we should see some tangible results. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, council? Thank you for the opportunity for me to ask those. I'll call the question. All in favor of the CIP? Opposed? None. Unanimously carried. Thank you very much, Dirk, and thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
And
Good night, everyone.
Sheila, yes, and Sheila, I may call under administration reports. I'm going to ask you, if you're going to be around, I'll perhaps ask you for your comments on this too. We'd look forward to hearing them. You're wearing a new hat this evening, and again, we congratulate you on that position, and it'll really be delightful to work with you on this. You're a familiar face, you know our community well, and if I could just a ways down the road in the agenda, if I could call upon you perhaps just to say a few words on that CIP. And we're going to make you earn your money now, I tell you. But we're very, very pleased with that. Thank you again. Safe drive home. Kara, Dirk.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Council, moving on, page 4 of 8, consent agenda. I'll read these through. If there's any on the consent agenda, council, that you wish to discuss immediately, we will. Should there be some you want to take action on, we can do it depending on the subject. I'm sure we can accommodate you. 5.1, vouchers in the amount of $783,459. 5.2, Southwest Middlesex Building Permit Report, June 2020. Our council minutes of July 8th, 2020. Special meeting of council minutes, July 15th. Township of Perth South, letter to Agricor, farm property tax rate. 5.6, letter to Kingsville letter to Premier and Minister of Finance, Rent Assistance Program. And Council 5.6 to 5.9 are all economic impact of COVID-19. 5.7, Town of Renfrew resolution investing in Canada's infrastructure grant program. 5.8, Municipality of Grey Highlands, universal basic income request.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes, gotcha. Sorry, Councillor Kell, go ahead. Back up if you wish, Krista. Yeah.
Thank you. Through the mayor, I would like to pull out the universal basic income and have it be something that we send a letter of support for when the time is appropriate.
I think we could do that right now, and I think that's an excellent suggestion. Okay. Would you like to move that we support that, and we'll get a seconder on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Wilkins. That is has been something I have always been interested in, and I think it replaces a lot of very complicated programs that are out there now. Council, any questions on that regarding minimum income? I'll call that we support that minimum income, universal basic income in support of the municipality of Grey Highlands, that we endorse the concept and we notify them. All in favor?
I think Martin had a question.
Oh yeah, Mark, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to watch these little postage stamp pictures here. Mark, go ahead. I'm sorry, Councilor. We can call that vote later. Mark, did you have a question?
Martin, Councilor
Martin,
Vink had a
go
question.
ahead, Martin. Yep. Martin, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mayor. Yes. Is there going to be a figure put on this basic income, or we're just saying we're in favor of basic income?
I believe it's we don't put the figure on.
Is there a minimum?
Yep.
Number?
Yeah.
Okay, we just say.
Okay. Yeah. The federal government are responsible for that. Go ahead, Councillor Cal.
All a motion is asking for that from the Grey Highlands is that the government look into the feasibility of it. There has already been, I forget what they call them, test subjects in Ontario that have proven aspects of success. So they're just saying that, you know, we're seeing that with CERB that this is a form of basic income. Could the government take a look at feasibility? Because as the mayor said, it might reduce the amount of redundant programs that already exist. And so it's just saying we also agree that it would be nice for them to take a look at it. And having been a part of the community stakeholders committee that has formed through COVID, there's so many different angles that people look for support. And I think it would definitely streamline things and possibly remove what they call red tape.
Thank you, Councillor Kell. Martin, it really is an endorsement, is what it is. It's endorsement of the proposal that it be established. Yes, go ahead, Councillor McGill.
I don't really think it's an endorsement. It's just saying that they want it looked into. I mean, I think I can support the idea of looking into it. I'm not so sure a basic income. I don't know. There's even now with the $2,000 a month that people are getting because of COVID-19. I think there's some abuses there. I'm not 100. I'll support this, studying it, but that's all for now.
It's a very broader subject than that, and by supporting it, that is an endorsement. But to give you an example, if someone was on disability and they were on a disability of perhaps $1,000 a month, if they wanted to, at the present time under the current system, if they try to get some part-time employment, they could get that disability clawed back. Whereas under a guaranteed income, if the guaranteed income was hypothetically, Mark, if it was $16,000 a year, if it was $16,000 a year was the basic guaranteed income, that individual that was on a disability of $12,000 a year would be allowed to make an additional $4,000 a year without getting that clawed back. So there's many, it's a complex subject that would require immense ministry input into. And it has been talked about for decades. And I think it just recently has come to the forefront. I wouldn't say it's in parity with the monies that are going out on COVID-19, this $2,000. It would replace some programs, and it would enable those with that are being underfunded through various programs to have the ability of making a little more money without being penalized or clawed back. I've read about it for a number of years, and that's my understanding of it. I'll call the question, Council. All in favor of Councillor Cowell's wishes? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Council. We move on to City of Oshawa, COVID-19 relief for municipalities, 5.9. 5.10, Ministry, Land Registration Service, a digital focus on it. And continuing on, I don't see any hands. 5.11, Ministry's letter regarding COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act. And 5.12, Ministry's letter regarding off-road vehicle changes. Would someone like to entertain a motion that the consent agenda be accepted as presented? Moved by Councillor Cowell, seconded by Councillor Vink. Any questions? All in favor, Council?
I think Councillor Crothers had a question.
Okay. All right. Yes. Question, Ian?
Yes, just something I realize you can't see all the screens, but on the vouchers, I believe Councillor Schuldeis had a question.
Okay. Yeah.
If
All right. Mike, I apologize for missing you on that, Mike. It's a delayed, sometimes a delayed showing on the screen here. Slower speeds, I guess. But go ahead if you, Kristen's with us and direct this question to me, and we'll get Kristen.
I realize now I don't think our Public Works Manager is present tonight, or is he? I didn't see him on the screen.
No, he's on vacation, Mike, actually, yeah.
What I was wondering for, not tonight, but maybe in the form of an email or whatever, I just wondered if we could get an update. I see that there was a couple of more bills for the River Road reconstruction.
Yep.
And I just wondered if we could get an update, all of council could get an update on the status of it.
Okay, that's fine. Yep. Yep. Kristen, you're satisfied with that? We can wait on that. Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Kristen. I see you just unmuted yourself.
Oh, no, I was just saying yes.
Okay, no problem. No problem. We might get between Kristen and with Greg's company, we'll get a more wholesome answer, Councillor Schuldeis. So that's prudent to follow your suggestion and do it.
Jill has a question.
Yes, go ahead, Jill.
Sure. Through you, Mayor Mayhew, I can provide a little bit of an update right now on River Road. So I attended with the Public Works Manager and the engineer and our crew leader last week. We reviewed the road following those couple of heavy storms, and the engineer was going to do some more review of additional lines for sight lines, and we were going to continue on with making sure things worked out. So we were still in progress, making sure that the road meets our satisfaction.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and we'll look forward to that report, that update, Michael, at a future meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, we will call the question again that the consent agenda be accepted as presented. Approved unanimously. We have a planning matter before us tonight, a severance. Number 6 on your agenda, Council, our Committee of Adjustment. Would someone from Council entertain a motion that we move into Committee of Adjustment? Moved by Councillor Crothers, seconded by Councillor Bartlett, thank you. All in favor? And have the minutes record that we will move into Committee of Adjustment at 8:05. Today's meeting is being held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency in order to keep everyone safe. We are taking this measure to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Although this is a virtual meeting, we will attempt to record, stream live, and publish in accordance with Council's electronic recording of meeting policy. Due to the pandemic and the requirements of social distancing to keep you safe, we are not able to allow the public to attend this meeting. Normally, by attending an open public meeting of the municipality of Southwest Middlesex, you are consenting to your image, voice, and/or comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak may be recorded, and their voice, image, and/or comments will form part of the live stream and recording. Today's meeting may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex site. Council, in reference to this committee meeting, is there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3 on the committee agenda, additions to agenda. If there are none, we will entertain a motion that the committee agenda be accepted as presented. Would someone move that, please? Councillor Crothers moved it. Seconder, as required. Councillor Scholdice, thank you very much. Discussion? All in favor? Delegations and presentations, there are none. Item number 5, Southwest Middlesex Committee of Adjustment meeting, July 8th. That was regarding Turner Homes. Any errors or omissions? I'll entertain a motion that the Committee of Adjustment meeting of July 8th be accepted. Would someone entertain that motion?
So moved.
Thank you very much, dear Deputy Mayor Wilkins. Seconded by Councillor Crothers. In favor? Carried unanimously. We will enter into the meeting. Members of the public wishing to comment on the application have been encouraged to provide written submission to the clerk by email or by mail at 153 McKellar Street. The deadline was Tuesday, June 21st, before the meeting, in order to provide comment or oral submission. Members of the public who do not provide written submissions to the clerk in advance of the meeting and decide to provide comment or oral submission while the meeting is ongoing will need to confirm their interest in so doing during the comment recess of the meeting and make their comment or oral submission during the oral submission part of the meeting. Chair, I'll call the meeting to order at 8:15. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to a severance application by Megan and Timothy Zavitz, and for Southwest Middlesex Committee of Adjustment to consider the proposal. The purpose and effect is to sever an existing semi-detached dwelling into 2 separate residential lots with frontages of 79 feet and 75 feet on Ann Crescent and an area of 0.2 acres and respectively 0.175 acres. Council, the order of the meeting and public will be as follows. The planner will present the staff report and recommendations and will provide any comments received from circulated agencies and the public. Secondly, the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak to the application. Thirdly, there'll be members' remarks. Fourth, oral submission of delegates. Fifth, written submissions. And sixth, the comment recess. Following that, oral submissions of other participants, the applicant's final remarks, and council's decision will follow. Chair Mayhew will then declare the meeting closed. Stephanie, would you like to take over now?
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen with you. So bear with me. All right, there we go. So the subject lands are located at the northeast corner of Ann Crescent and Concession Drive in Glencoe. The subject lands are designated residential within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned the residential second density R2 zone within the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. And the surrounding land uses are predominantly residential in nature. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed severance application to create one severed lot and one retained lot for residential purposes is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the county and Southwest Middlesex official plans, as the proposal is located within a settlement area with access to full municipal services, which is encouraged within the policy documents. Staff note that the development proposal does not require a plan of subdivision, as the Southwest Middlesex official plan contains policies permitting the creation up to 5 lots by way of consent, whereas the proposal would result in the total of 2 residential lots. Additionally, the official plan exempts a plan of subdivision where the proposed lots front onto an open public road. No undue extension or improvement of services is required, and there exists no other land under the same ownership abutting the proposed to be created and designated for the same type of development. The subject lands abut 2 open public roads, being Ann Crescent and Concession Drive, and no extension of services will be required as the water and sanitary lines exist fronting both lots. And the property owner does not own other abutting lands in the same ownership. The applicants will be required to establish 2 separate water and sanitary services from the road to each of the dwellings, as they are currently shared, whereas all services must be wholly contained to each property. Staff are satisfied that the proposed development will result in lots that are compatible with surrounding residential area and maintain the minimum lot size requirement of 300 square meters or 0.074 acres, and the minimum lot frontage requirement of 10.5 meters or 34 feet. And all other requirements of the residential second density R2 zone are being met. Staff do not anticipate any adverse negative impacts as a result of the consent application, as the semi-detached dwelling already exists and there will be no visible changes to the subject lands at this time. Overall, staff are in a position to support the proposal subject to conditions, as it is consistent with the provincial policy statement and in conformity with the county and Southwest Middlesex official plans, Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. Notice has been circulated to agencies and property owners in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and we have received the following comment from the county engineer. He stated that the owner be required to dedicate lands up to 15 meters from the center line of construction of County Road 14, being Concession Drive, to the County of Middlesex for the purposes of road widening if the right-of-way is not already to that width. And we have not received any public comments at the time of writing the report. So it is recommended that the consent application be granted subject to the following conditions. So condition number 1, that the certificate of consent under section 5342 of the Planning Act shall be given within 1 year of the date of the notice of decision. The request for the certificate of consent shall be accompanied by a written submission that details how each of the conditions of consent has been fulfilled. Condition number 2, that the owner's solicitor submits an undertaking in a form satisfactory to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment to register an electronic transfer of title exactly consistent with the acknowledgement and direction executed by the applicants and the decision of the Committee of Adjustment. Condition number 3, that the taxes on the subject property are paid in full. Condition number 4, that the owner install separate water and sanitary service connections to the severed parcel prior to consent being granted to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 5, that the owner be required to dedicate lands up to 15 meters from the center line of construction of County Road 14 to the County of Middlesex for the purposes of road widening if the right-of-way is not already to that width. Condition number 6, that 2 copies of the reference plan are submitted to the satisfaction of the municipality. And condition number 7, that a preliminary survey showing the lands being severed be submitted to the satisfaction of the municipality prior to being deposited at the land register's office. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. We appreciate that, walking us through that. The second appendix of the meeting order is the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak regarding the application. Jill is one of the Zavitses here this evening.
No, he was invited to participate virtually, but no, he's not here.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Jill. Council, it's our opportunity to ask Stephanie any questions. I'll give you a minute to think about that and address them through the chair to Steph. Okay, we'll move on in the, go ahead, Councillor Bartlett, I see you. Yep, I see your hand, Councillor Bartlett, go ahead. Oh, Doug, you're on mute.
Doug.
Unmute yourself.
I think
Doug,
I'd be used to that by now.
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor, to Stephanie. I was just wondering if there was a specific reason for the severance, if it was for a possible future sale or what the reason was.
So,
Go ahead,
yeah, to the mayor, sorry, through the mayor to the councillor. From my understanding, I believe they're looking to sever it in properties, and that would be correct to have in the future potentially 2 separate ownerships of that property.
Okay. And just a follow up, what, and this may not be appropriate for now, but what's the consequences for the renters if it was sold?
I'm not sure whether that's a planning question or not, whether there might be out of, it could be a legal aspect of it and not a planning aspect of that. Jill, would you back me up on that? Okay, thank you. I see Jill's head nodding. I'd rather not go into that, Councillor Bartlett, right now, but perhaps at some other time we can discuss that. But we're looking at it from a planning perspective, according to the planning rules and regulations that's set down in our municipality, and it's that could be a legal question, not a planning question.
That's fair. Thank you.
Under the Tenancy Act, be under the Tenancy Act. Where are we here? Yeah, go ahead, Council. Any further questions? Jill, I'll ask you if there have been any oral submissions of delegates.
There have not. We have not
Okay.
received any submissions.
Thank you very much. And no written submissions?
Correct.
And Council, we could take, perhaps it's our duty, should someone be viewing this and want to call in and have some concern about it, to allow Jill to gather that information. So we will take a 5-minute break. And Mike, I think you're adjusting your screen. It's not a question
Yep,
there?
sorry about that, Al.
Okay, no problem. It's good. No, I just didn't want
We're
to
gonna
miss you.
take
I
5
missed
minutes.
you tonight. I've got to improve my batting average here. And anyway, we'll take a 5-minute recess, and that'll allow Jill time and the public time to get any questions in. Thank you, Council. Council, it looks like we're pretty well all returned. I'll just confirm that we have our CAO with us here.
I am here.
Good, we need you there, Jill. Thank you. Okay, we have completed council in the committee protocol, the comments recess. Jill, have any oral submissions from other participants, have they been received?
Nothing further has come in.
Thank you. And the applicant's final remarks, I believe we can let that go. We will make a decision on this council following the close of the committee. So I declare that the public meeting for this severance application be closed. And the chair will now consider motions regarding the applications, and it would be to allow the severance on Ann Crescent with the 7 conditions that Stephanie has outlined. Councilor Shorthouse, is that a motion? Move.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Councilor Crothers, is that a second?
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions to Stephanie before we call the vote, Council? All in favor of the application? Carried. Yep, got it, Martin. Yep, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night,
Steph.
Stephanie.
I don't have to tell you to drive careful because I know you're home. Okay, okay, thank you. The still in no future meetings have been documented, and I will declare that the meeting be closed. The chair will adjourn the committee meeting at 8:34. Okay, we'll get back to. We're back to the regular agenda, Council. And we are at, regular council has reconvened at 8:34. Number 7 on the agenda, public meetings, none. Number 8 on staff reports. In reference to fire reports, there are none. Under administration reports, we're very pleased to have Sheila with us tonight, and I know that we have accepted the recommendation of a community improvement plan. And Sheila, I just didn't want you to get away without speaking to us. So just relax, and perhaps you can give us some thoughts on that. I know that you had prepared a recommendation, and even if you wanted to regurgitate some of that, it would be fine for council, but we'll get you back on there, get your picture on here, and we'll try to, yeah, we got you there. Yeah, Jill just went out. Yeah, but go ahead, Sheila, I'll give you the floor.
Okay, through you, Mayor Mayhew, I just want to thank council for embarking on this adventure. I think it'll be an exciting opportunity, and it'll be a good opportunity to speak to our community, both business and the regular public, and just looking forward to it very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to working with you, as I said previously.
Thank you.
Moving on to the staff reports, we have building. There is an item there regarding a holding tank for lot 10 Butte Street. There is a report that has been circulated.
Mayor Mayhew, I'll move that report.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Councilor Crothers,
Recommendation.
yeah, a seconder for that, is it? Ian, you're seconding that. Thank you. I get a nod there. I've got it approved with a nod. Any questions on this, council? Or could I ask, does everyone have a concept of why we're doing this for future development of Butte? Jill, could you comment on this? Give us a brief opinion. We'd appreciate it if you could.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to. This was one of the first things I invited Shannon to help me out with. So we had received a request related to going ahead and putting a house onto a vacant lot, and it doesn't quite match all things we need. So there's a little bit of tweaking that needs to happen. So Shannon has helped review some of our policies and come to an ability for there to be some development there while we're waiting for that future expected development of the proposed subdivision that's going to be planned for right behind there, pending council's approval, of course. So Shannon did a great job. She's familiar with this type of request and has worked on these things before. I might just turn it over to Shannon for just a minute so she can speak to the report. There was a nice cat that just walked by on Councillor McGill.
Yeah. Oh, that's Shannon, thank you for being with us. Council, just before Shannon begins, Shannon Black is our new CBO, and we're very pleased to have her. She'll be working out of the Adelaide Metcalfe office, but I'm sure she'll be visiting our region periodically. And Shannon, we're pleased to have you. And Shannon, I'll hand the floor over to you.
Great, thank you very much. On that note, I was in your office actually yesterday and I did a couple of inspections, and then also I will be in the office tomorrow as well, providing inspection services and being in the office tomorrow. But anyways, on this report, as Jill said, we received a request in order to permit a holding tank as a temporary provision to allow some development to occur at lot 10 Butte Street. So in reviewing the requirements and the future development that is pending to occur just behind the 10 Butte Street lot, and reviewing the Ontario Building Code requirements, the code does permit for a holding tank to be placed as a temporary provision. There are requirements that have to be put into place. They will have to apply for a permit. The tank will be, it's required to be 7 times the daily flow rate. There'll have to be a haulage agreement entered into, in which, as the report indicates, we would register that on title to ensure that it was being disposed of correctly and timely. And also there's some monitoring equipment that's required to be installed in order to allow this to occur. So by allowing or accepting this report and the recommendations on it, we would be permitting future development to happen on Butte Street under the provisions and idea that time of development behind of the future subdivision that's proposed, this property would connect, and by holding the $15,000 security, that would allow the municipality to be able to install the system should the owners at the time not be willing to, if the development doesn't proceed. Should the development proceed, then we would obviously release the $15,000 security back once the connection had occurred.
Okay, thank you very much, Shannon. Council, we have a mover and a seconder. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead. Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Yep, thank you, Mayor Allen. To Shannon, what about after the 3 years, if there's been no development, what happens then?
Through you, Mayor. If the development does not go through, the agreement will be for 3 years. So if in 3 years the development does not go through and there's no services put through that they connect, then they will have to install a full septic system. So that's what the $15,000 is for, is security. So in the event that the 3 years comes and the development doesn't occur to the rear that would allow them to connect into the municipal sewer, then we have the security on title being held that we as the municipality would then be able to put the septic system in to bring this property up to where it needs to be for servicing.
Okay, yes, Councillor Crothers, I see your hand. Councillor Vink, just to add to that, we should all be aware that there has been an investment by the developer already, in that the services were upgraded in that area, And he has invested, a considerable amount of money to upgrade those services. So I'm sure his intentions are quite serious. And he has made a commitment to that future development financially already. Go ahead, Councillor Crothers.
Yes, I'd be assuming that there is sufficient room for a conventional septic or weeping bed system if required.
Shannon, I'll let you answer that.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, that would be one of the conditions of when we issue a building permit. We would ask to see that there is a contingency area allocated on the site plan that would permit for a full septic system to be installed. The letter request indicated that it was just a single-story home. So it's not going to be too many bedrooms or bathrooms. So the system won't be overly huge that's required, but we will definitely verify to make sure that a minimum size septic system would be able to fit on that property to adequately accommodate the facilities in the home.
Thank you.
Any further questions, council? Would someone entertain them? We have the motion is made, correct? That's made and seconded, so I'll call the question. All in favor that the temporary reservoir be allowed? All in favor? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Continuing on with staff reports. Finance, there's none. Facilities and recreation, and none. Public works, surface treatment, tar and chip. Greg is not with us this evening. Jill, would you carry the torch for Greg in his absence?
Absolutely. So the surface treatment for tar and chip tender results were in. Myself and Barbara Pennell and Greg Storms, we reviewed the opening, actually did this through another virtual meeting so that this was a live opening. So those that were interested were able to participate in it. And you will see that the pricing has come in at $139,882.65. That's a HST excluded. And those are for the surface treatments at those locations within Glencoe and Melbourne and Middlemiss, as well as near Pratt Siding. These are, and I guess I will add, these are the projects that were approved in the budget by council for 2020. There was one deferred project, Kristen can correct me, but I believe there was one deferred project as part of the reallocation of some funds for covering items through COVID-19 as we're dealing with those.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Jill, you're correct. I just looked at that. There was $837,000 worth of road work budgeted for, and $360,000 of that was funded through the gas tax, and an additional $173,000 was funded through OCIF formula funds. And there was, $172,000 funded through the tax base. And the only change to that, council, we backed off on Oldie Drive to the balance of the tar and chip on Oldie Drive, if you remember, to kind of cushion the cost of COVID-19. We set that back a year. Okay, we've got this. Yes, Martin, go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I guess when Councillor McCall was on council, I believe Melbourne was promised a paved street, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was put in the budget at that time for $365,000. That was on Facebook today, that particular figure. So anyway, so this is certainly not pavement. In order to have a flexible pavement, you have to have 3 layers of pavement. And as far as I know, talking to Councilor McCollum, there's only been 1 layer of pavement on that street. And also, hardly any sidewalk on that street. There's only maybe 100 feet of sidewalk on that street off Melbourne Road. And on Victoria Street, they are paying some of the highest taxes in Southwest Middlesex because of the proximity to London. And so we're not treating these people very well. And they're paying big taxes, and you know, all the big projects go somewhere else. And we're telling them they have to be satisfied with our chip after they were promised pavement. And so I will not be in support of this. And it's unfortunate that Greg is on holidays and not to answer some of this. But anyway, I would like this report deferred and take another look at Victoria Street being paved. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. It's just Martin, in response to that, it's also unfortunate that this wasn't brought to our, this was not brought to our attention during our budget deliberations when council made these decisions, of which you were a part of. It's difficult to go back in time, but this was discussed at length and many questions. Public Works handled many questions at the time. Go ahead. Again, second question, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Well, I hate to bring this up, but my mother was dying, and that's why I wasn't at the budget meetings.
Okay. All right. That's a good reason. Anyway, council, any other questions? Yes, Councillor Bartlett, followed by Councillor Scholdice.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if we can answer this tonight since Greg's not here, but I was just wondering why there's such a difference between the 2 tenders. It's not quite double, but it's pretty close. It kind of raises a red flag for me, that's all.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, there's 2 hands up. Jill, I'm going to allow Councillor Scholdice to ask a question, then I'll have to go back to you. I see he's put his hands up twice. Councillor Scholdice, go ahead. And unmute yourself, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'd just like to follow up on what Councillor Bartlett said. I had some concerns about the difference in quotes as well. $110,000 is quite a significant difference from the low quote to the only other quote that we received. And we are significantly under budget on this. So I wondered if we couldn't send it back and get some price estimates for pavement on the streets that we have previously promised.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we may have to discuss that. Jill, go ahead, please, if you would.
Sure. So what I can offer is that it really depends on what those companies are doing. Sometimes they're already doing work locally, and so this is an opportunity for them to just tag on to that work. This is, from my recollection, this is a company we've worked with before. So they were eager to continue to work with us. And I think that generally that's when you're looking at why there's a difference, it tends to be, that's why it's easier for them to put in an offer, a bid on the project at hand, because there's something else that they're going to do. We put this out to 3 different companies specifically, definitely put it on the market as well. And we only got 2 results back. So it's sometimes we don't know what they're going to come back with. It is nice when you get something under budget as opposed to over budget. And if you want to change the results, you would probably need to go back to the market with the whole thing.
Okay. All right, Councillor, you're in the dark there. I think Councillor Cowell. Yep.
I'd like to move the recommendation.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Go ahead. Yes, thank you, Councillor Gill. Questions, Council? Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was not aware until tonight of any plan to ever pave that street. And since it's a really good quote, I think we should go ahead with it now, because if we delayed this, who knows what it might end up costing later. We redid the water tower in Melbourne, and did a lot of work on the little park there. And I looked at the streets in Melbourne just, I believe, yesterday, and something needs to be done there soon. I would say they need to be resurfaced.
Mhm. Okay. Yes, yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. While I was out campaigning a few years ago, the residents on that street in Melbourne had indicated to me that there was a huge drainage issue. This council will remember that I did bring it up when Councillor Vink brought up the issue with drainage in Wardsville. So I did ask at that time, Greg, to please look at Melbourne after Wardsville and address the drainage issue. So I suspect that at some point in the near future that will be looked at too. Maybe if and when that is addressed, then the street could be properly considered with asphalt and curbs and sidewalks. Just a thought.
Yes. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilkins. No, I was well aware of that, and I was just going to bring it up as well. You took the words right out of my mouth. I know that we would not want to lay asphalt and then have to go in there and rip it up to put some stormwater management systems in and sidewalks. So or the stormwater management anyway, it wouldn't be a wise investment. And we too, in view of COVID-19, we do have some, perhaps, we're not sure. We're looking at a crystal ball, trying to envision how COVID-19 will affect our financial position as a municipality. So we must have a fiduciary responsibility for the time being as well. But it's certainly our wish too that we improve the services in all areas of Middlesex County, including Melbourne, and just the timing of this and the opportunity to get this done at this price is competitive. Yes, Councillor Cal, I see your hand up there. I see your fingertips. Yep. Okay.
Through the mayor to, I think Jill might be the best person to answer this. In our asset management, does it give us the information to let us know what the different level of our streets are in other communities? I'm quite certain that Appin does not have any asphalt, nor does Wardsville. And I'm just concerned that if we started the process of asphalting places like Melbourne, we would have to then go forward and asphalt everyone, because I think that we should have the same service level across all of our municipalities. So I'm just wondering if you could provide that kind of information for those of us that aren't familiar, like myself, with different topics.
Go ahead, Jill, and following Jill, Martin, I see your hand up. Following Jill, I'll give you the opportunity to speak.
Sure. Yeah, so it is pretty common to have a slightly different standard for different services in different types of smaller urban settings. But I would have to specifically go back and pull out the asset management plan, but happy to do that to identify the service level standard. And that you're completely correct, Councillor Cowell, that that's the type of service level decision you're making when you are putting an asset management plan together and then planning for the replacement costs. It's the decision about what service level you are aiming for and then maintaining and then trying to fund that. I don't, through you, Mayor Mayhew, I don't have sort of specific information on what was brought forward tonight in terms of past conversations, but we can look into that as well.
Okay. Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I'd like to differ with Krista. If you recall, in Appin, they had a street just redone. It was to be tar and chip, and it ended up being paved, curbs put in. Wardsville has paved streets. There are other streets that are paved, and of course, there's a number in Blanco that are paved as well.
Yes, and just also, if you examine Greg's proposal, Ann Crescent is in that tar and chip schedule as well. And I'm assure council that there is some significant assessment on Ann Crescent in Glencoe. That is the street just east of the high school, the cul-de-sac there. And there is significant assessment on that street as one of the prime real estate locations in Southwest Middlesex. And they are tar and chip, no curbs, no sidewalks. Okay, any other questions? Failing which, I'll call the question. All in favor of the recommendation? All opposed? Carried. Number 9, notice of motion. Martin, is it your intention to move that? Go ahead, Martin.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. Yes, that's my intention to move it. Yes. Do you want me to comment on it or?
Yes, if you would, please. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. Appreciate it. As you well know, as I put in the motion, we've had several inquiries in regards to the flyer that was sent out. And I have a copy of the flyer. It says, first thing it says, an important message from the municipality of Southwest Middlesex. Well, it's not from the Southwest Middlesex. It's from SLWC. And that was the understanding that I had when we were told at the meeting that this was, they were only going to use our assessment roll for names and ownership to send the letter. And then at the very bottom of the flyer, it says the municipality of Southwest Middlesex. So this is a very misleading flyer as far as I'm concerned. And of course, it's not just my opinion. I've had numerous emails on it and numerous people talking about it. And so I am making a motion that we have a report on this contract to see what was exactly in the contract. And, because I feel that they're not fulfilling their contract.
Okay, just council, there is a motion. Now I will ask for a seconder and then we'll discuss this. Is there a seconder? Yes, okay, Councillor Crothers. The motion has been seconded by Councillor Crothers. We'll open this up to the floor for discussion from council. Council, I'll be watching your hands. Go ahead. None? Yes, Councillor Crothers.
Yes, I can relate to what Martin's saying. I've had actually quite a few people contact me also about misunderstandings on it. Maybe it needs some more clarification. Maybe they should have said just by approval or something of Southwest Middlesex, we are marketing this, something a little that doesn't seem to connect us directly to it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be better use of staff time and tax dollars if when these concerns come into councillors, if they could direct them to the administrator.
That's a good suggestion.
Instead of a report.
Yeah, good suggestion. Yeah. Council, any further questions? Yes, Mark, go ahead. Councillor McGill.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just had one person call me about it, and he was concerned that he thought we'd sold our mailing list, but we hadn't. It said in the original report, we did not do that. All we provided this company with was postal codes. And yes, the company could have got those postal codes from the post office.
Yep.
And then the company through got a third party provider to provide them with names and addresses.
Yeah.
So I looked at the information that was sent out, and it looked okay to me, because we did give that company permission to use our logo in their mailing.
Yeah. Yes, we did not use our assessment roll for this, and as you, Mark, you're correct in that they just asked for postal codes for the various regions of Southwest Middlesex, and as the deputy mayor alluded to, if these questions had been forwarded to staff, those answers could have been provided. Council, just a couple of observations I'd like to make on that, I appreciate Councillor Bink's concern. Communication is the root of all evil, they say, but when you look at the letter, it doesn't say information from Southwest Middlesex. It says information for Southwest Middlesex homeowners. So it's merely an information letter. And if you look at the seventh line of the document towards the end, it says you're invited. It doesn't say, and on the eighth line, it says this is optional coverage. And on the bottom of that letter, there's a disclaimer indicating that it identifies the company, and it is a service line warranties of Canada have been identified in the letter separately. There is a word there that does bother me to some concern, is partnered. I'm not sure why that one word is in there, but there is vocabulary in this letter that says it's for information. It is available. There obviously has to be a dialogue between the homeowner and his existing insurance company. I would think that would be just due diligence in business. But again, it's referred to as optional coverage. It's not mandatory. So there's no question the letter is a sales tool. Is it hard sell? I don't think it's really hard sell. It's kind of a medium, soft to medium sell. And but there is vocabulary in there that does identify it as being a choice in the marketplace. Council, last call for questions. Jill, Martin, go ahead. I see your hand up for a question.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Allen. Well, the first thing is people have so many letters in the mail, and the first line is the most important line to grab your attention. And it says an important message from the municipality of Southwest Middlesex, and this is misleading as far as I'm concerned.
I have the letter in front of me right now, dated August 4th, 2020. It says information for Southwest Middlesex homeowners, at the very top of the paper. And the first line says, many homeowners are not aware that repairs to exterior water, surface, or sewer or septic lines that run between your home and the public utility connection are the responsibilities of the homeowner. And then the only reference it has to Southwest Middlesex is in the third paragraph. The municipality of Southwest Middlesex has partnered with Service Line Warranties of Canada to help eligible homeowners be prepared and have the best possible service in case of an emergency. And then it says you are invited to enroll. But that's the wording I have in front of me, Martin. If there was other documentations in here, I don't see it.
It's 21 hours.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Well, I'm quoting the exact email that I got from Jill. And this is a flyer that Jill sent to us. And it has the insignia on the top. And then the first line I see in bold letters, in darker letters, an important message from the municipality of Southwest Middlesex.
Yeah, yours came from Jill.
That came from Jill's email.
Yeah, mine came in the mail. I thought we were talking about what was mailed out to the people of Southwest Middlesex. I have the mailing that was mailed to the residents in the fully serviced lots. It doesn't affect Ward 1 and 3, obviously, this insurance too much at all, unless they're on water or sewer. But I'm reading from what was mailed out to the municipalities. We were talking about postal codes. I am addressing what was mailed to the people. I'm not sure who received that email. I don't presume everyone in Middlesex, in Southwest Middlesex, received Jill's email. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Scholdice.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I was just wondering, is there any plans for any future mailouts with this company?
I would say I'm not sure. I cannot speak on their behalf. Jill could do that, but I would seriously examine that if that opportunity ever became available.
I recall at the meeting when they were present that they were pretty clear that they were going to use our logo on their advertising, and that's what they were looking for. If I recall, the deputy mayor and myself voted against it. But I just wondered if Martin's motion couldn't be in a way to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. That would be up to Martin to reword his motion. Do you still want a staff investigation on this, Martin, or can we do?
Well, no, I would entertain what Councillor Scholdice stated, because obviously the damage has already been done. So if we can prevent something in the future, I'm all for it.
Yep. Jill, I'm sure you need clarification on that. Yeah.
Through you, Mayor. Actually, I would just provide a word of caution. So there's some suggestion out in the public realm now. I'm through some of the council members that there's been a breach in the agreement. That's not something that I'm aware of. And I would just provide caution to the members in saying that that's the case, that the Service Line Warranties of Canada has done something that is outside of the agreement that the municipality entered into with them. So I would just like to provide that caution that you shouldn't be commenting on that unless that is something that has been brought to your attention. To my knowledge, the agreement is as it was presented by the representative and through the report from the Public Works Manager. If you want me to double check to see whether or not there's more than one circulation of information, I can do that. But this is information that council approved and agreed to and is on our website. And it is a partnership that is promoted from the AMO branch called the Local Authority Services. And there are a number of local municipalities that provide this partnership and this same opportunity to their residents in the exact same manner that it is being offered out to Southwest Middlesex residents.
Thank you, Jill. I too might remember the statement that they wanted to use our logo, but Jill's mention of LAS, they endorse, their objective is to save people money in the municipalities of Ontario through combined purchasing, through negotiated agreements with various representatives, and it's their intent to work in both municipalities and ratepayers' interests. And with those endorsements behind them, they certainly are legitimate. But I further stress that I have the letter in front of me right now as I sit here, and I'm not going to read it again. I've already made several references to it, but it is an invitation. It is optional. Councillor Vink, do you want your motion to stand, or would you want to dictate a motion to Jill and ask if your mover and your seconder will agree to the change?
Well, I agree with what Councillor Scholdice said, that to ask if this is going to be sent out again. I don't see the harm in that.
Yeah, we can ask a question without having a motion. Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. We can. I don't believe it would. We can go back. Jill can go back in the further marketing plan that the the company service line warranties have given us some element of calendar in terms of what they do, perhaps we can check that. But the chair is going to have a clarification on this motion before I call the vote. I want to make sure that the Council of Southwest Middlesex know exactly what they're voting on.
Well, yeah, my motion stands to get a report from Jill, basically, on this contract. And I'd like to know a few more of the details. So my motion stands.
Okay, and all right, and yeah, I'm not sure what the attendance was at council the evening that was presented. I don't know who was here and who was not, but it was some time ago. Okay, well then the motion has not changed. I hear now it has been moved and seconded. Any further questions? All in favor? Oh, go ahead. Mark has got his hand up. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I got that one question from a resident of Glencoe, I contacted Jill. She sent me the original motion that we'd passed approving Service Line Warranties of Canada to do what we agreed to do, and she sent us out what was sent out in the mail. I reviewed it all. I explained it to the guy in Glencoe, who also happens to be an insurance agent. I think that was part of his concern, is this was maybe, he said he could give his customers a better deal than that. So, you know, I just have to encourage any insurance agents that think they can offer something better to the people of Southwest Middlesex to go ahead and make sure their customers know that they have something else available. So I don't think we need to have a staff report on this when it hasn't been that long ago that we just approved it. And we have all the information we need.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Gill. I'll call the question. Just before I do, Council, I just have one correction I would like to make. I regurgitated some of the information on a letter in front of you, and I advised you that that letter was dated August 4th, 2020. It says, please reply by August 4th, 2020. I apologize for that. It was a dated material. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Oh, Councilor Cowell, I see your hand up.
I just had one more comment. I think that this is a valuable lesson in critical thinking, in the sense that it's evaluating where the material is coming from and asking important questions. And I say kudos to the residents of Southwest Middlesex for questioning the information that they're receiving in the mail and following up with it.
Yep, I agree. Okay, I'll call the question now. Question's over. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Motion is defeated. But Councillor Vink, I knew your heart was in the right place there. So we'll perhaps we've all learned something from this.
Mayor Mayhew,
Yes.
can I make a motion that we have a 5-minute recess, please?
Yes, by all means, that'll be fine. Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. We're at 9:14. We'll come back about 9:20. Wait for a minute. Bring it down after.
Well,
Hey, Mark.
yes, go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah,
Mayhew.
how's the weed coming off, Mark? Have you heard any of the guys?
Well, we're hopefully going to be able to do wheat again tomorrow. It's, I think, kind of an average yield.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it looked good, you know, that
All the-
one rain had looked like it might have beat some down a bit, but a little bit, but not much. There were spots that looked like they were leaning.
Yes, some of it was down, and the really hot weather cut the yield back a bit.
Yeah.
And actually, some of it's low test weight too,
Oh, yeah.
because the kernels shrunk up. But the
Yeah.
corn and the soybeans are looking basically fantastic with all this
Yeah.
rain we've been getting.
Compared to what they did look like, they are looking much better. That's kind of a welcome sign too for everybody. Yeah.
At my place, we've had 5 inches of rain so far in July.
Yeah, we've had a little less in town. I think I'm about 4.25.
And actually around Appin, they got even more. And there's some drowned out spots in the low spots in fields,
Yeah,
but it still looks good.
yeah. Well, we're at the mercy of the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody from Tate's Corners and they have 5 inches in one rain.
Yeah, I heard that, Martin. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of rain.
Yeah, that's a lot of water, yes.
Yeah. Boy, those people at Pratt Siding sure worked hard on that house, eh, Martin?
Yes, yes, they sure did. That was 2 big trees and a big branch there. And they cleaned it up pretty fast, Mayor.
I know. I went by at 7 in the morning and they were cutting wood. I went by at 7 at night and they were still cutting wood 12 hours later.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, those were humongous trees.
Yeah, they were big. I was surprised they weren't rooted that deep. Yeah, they weren't rooted that deeply.
No. I seen in the local paper there, the Lambton Standard, one of the solar panels came out concrete and everything towards Arcona. That takes a lot of wind.
Yeah.
We had one go down in southwest Middlesex earlier too.
Oh, is that right? A solar panel?
Yeah, Rick and Fran House solar panel blew down.
Oh.
Okay. Guys, I just thought, we're talking about farming, Mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bill, yeah, we're still streaming live here, so.
Oh,
you
are
gotta
we?
be aware we're still streaming, okay? I don't think we've said anything bad about farmers, have we?
No, I
hope
don't
not.
think so. And I
That's
hope Rick
good.
and Fran.
Yeah, no, I guess
Your
just
name.
concerns, questions. So Martin, you, me, and Mark could really be in trouble now because what we're talking about is public.
Oh, that's all right. It was all above board.
Okay, we'll start the meeting. Call it back. We'll just make sure everyone's in attendance. Is there a deputy mayor with us? We'll give her a minute. Well, I think we can probably open the meeting. Okay, we're on number 10 of the agenda, council. It's regarding Wilton's mini market. The correspondence is in front of you. I talked to Jill about this. It's somewhat unusual. Jill, could you add some comment on this? I know it is something I can't remember dealing with, but I'll let you take over.
Sure.
Go ahead, Jill.
I don't think we've ever had to deal with it before either, but the request was directed to us from the mini mart based on what the AGCO provided to them, and said that the local municipality has to endorse the opening on days when they are statutory holidays. So it's up to council to decide if they wish to do so, putting it forward as the request and recommending that it be approved.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, I'll ask for a mover and seconder on this, and then we'll open it for discussion. Moved by Councillor Crothers, seconded by Councillor Scholdice. Thank you, gentlemen. Questions to myself or Jill? Seeing none, all in favor that the Wilton's Minimark be allowed to open statutory holidays? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, council. Number 11 is unfinished business. Jill, there is none itemized on my notes here.
Correct.
We'll move on to 12, new business, and we have asked that the mask bylaw be added into this, and that is a good suggestion from Councillor Cal. Councillor Cal, would you like to lead us away on that discussion?
My internet is kind of tricky, so if I turn off the video, that's how come. It's to salvage what internet stability I've got.
Yeah, we'll work with.
I set up a poll because this is probably going to end up being one of the most difficult things that I feel like I will vote on in my time so far, at least, in an effort to try and get a response from our community and to hear what they're interested in. And it unfortunately only ran for 24 hours because we had a tree come down over the weekend and didn't have hydro until sometime last night. So in the 24 hours, we had 425 people respond. 330 of them were in favor of masking and 95 were not.
Okay, those are valuable statistics, Councillor Cal. I want to thank you for that very much. Yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead. You're muted. You're muted, Mike.
Mute. Thank you. Thank you,
No
Mayor
problem.
Mayhew. Sorry about that. When driving through Grand Bend earlier this week, I spotted only one mask amid a huge crowd. Common sense is not the rule. It is crucial to remember that not everyone who visits local stores are local residents who care about the well-being of their neighbors and friends. Yes, there could be a cost to the municipality and businesses, but if suggested precautions are not followed, does this not put the municipality in legal jeopardy? This mandate came from the health unit, which is the most qualified in such matters, and I will move that we support it.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Scholdice. I'll ask for a seconder for that motion of Mike's. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
My only concern with what has been presented in front of us is that other communities have already passed similar bylaws and they've already faced some not tricky, but issues within the language. So for example, our bylaw says that we would require masks for children 2 and up, whereas the Middlesex London Health Unit only suggests masks for 12 and under. I would be in favor of aligning ourselves with the Middlesex London Health Unit because I agree that they are the foremost people about this topic. And furthermore, other municipalities have put end dates in place, and it's my understanding that if we did not have an end date in place, we could potentially continue masking in our community long past what the province or the health unit has suggested. And so my other recommendation would be either to follow suit with what London has done and put a 60-day time frame where we relook at this situation, or what other communities have also done. I believe there was another community, I think it was Middlesex Center, and they were looking at having, whenever the emergency ended, December 31st, or another stipulation, whatever came first was when our masking bylaw would end. Because I'm just concerned with having it go on indefinitely and then us having to make the decision to remove it, to go to Councillor Schuldeis's comments of the legal ramifications of making a decision when we're not medical health officers. Sorry, that's all I wanted to add.
I think I may ask for an amendment on that. I think in terms of the 12 years of age, there is some parental responsibility, and of course parents can ask their 7 or 8 or 9-year-old to wear a mask if they so wish, but it's the mandatory aspect of it. I see your point. Again, about a date of expiry, it would have to be examined on the basis of the state of the pandemic, would certainly be the criteria, and could be extended for a further length of time. Councillor Scholdeis, yes.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I thought point number 9 covered when it would be over.
Okay. Yeah, and Jill is, of course, has been instrumental in the language of this bylaw, and I'm sure she's checked it 100 times. I'd like to bring her into this because she knows it from a legislative point of view. And Jill, your comments would be appreciated. The chair would, anyway.
Sure, absolutely. So I think, Council, I've provided you with some information in a meeting or in an email yesterday, just to make sure everybody understands the context in which this is being brought forward. Staff did not go out and just prepare a bylaw requiring masks. This was a request from the Medical Officer of Health, and it is in line with the change in the situation that is anticipated for the next couple of days, where the provincial emergency order declaration is expected to be lifted. So what the Medical Officer of Health has issued is an order with respect to masks for specific businesses. And that order is under the Health Protection and Promotion or Prevention Act, HPPA, Section 22. And that will stay in place regardless of when the provincial emergency order is lifted, as I understand it. So the Medical Officer of Health has that authority under that piece of legislation. Our Medical Officer of Health has determined that the threshold for the general public in enclosed spaces is more aligned with making issuing an instruction. So already in effect in all of the entire region that we are currently in, every person who enters an enclosed space is already mandated to wear a face covering if that is publicly accessible. And that is subject to those exceptions that are listed in the instructions, similar to the listing that's in the bylaw. And on top of that, that particular instruction is made under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, which he has noted there may be challenge if the emergency order is lifted, whether or not he continues to have the authority under that piece of legislation to have that instruction carry on, which is why he's looking for another piece, which is from the municipal council's perspective, and they have the authority under the broad powers of a local council to pass a bylaw for the health and well-being of residents. And that's why this is before you. Certainly, I would have rather been able to prepare a more comprehensive report. This came to light Friday as we were preparing the agenda package. Happy to make changes to it if council would wish. This was for your consideration. And much of it matches what it is that we had seen with both the City of London and the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc as well. In terms of the timelines, specifically the policy excluded children under 2 years of age. So if council would like to amend the age limit, that does mirror somewhat what's already in the instruction, that children are under 2 years of age are not to be wearing face masks. But what we heard from the medical officer of health as well is that children under 12 are exempted, but if that suits the child, then certainly they'd be encouraged to wear it. So if you have an 8-year-old that is comfortable wearing it, they recommend that that child wear it to match the provisions of what their instruction is. And in terms of the timeline, the whole idea is that this bylaw be in place after a provincial emergency order is lifted in order to match the reopening of the economy. So it's an effort to support what it is that the province is doing by reopening the economy, letting people go more places, and knowing that they are trying to keep certain restrictions in place while also being able to lift those emergency orders. So that's why you've seen some of those bills put forward by the provincial government, specifically so they can remove the emergency declaration, but continue to mandate restrictions on the public to help support public health. So very open to amendments if council wishes. It's up to council. But I did hear this afternoon that we're expected to see that July the 24th is when the provincial declaration is likely to be lifted.
Thank you, Jill, very much. Appreciate your work on that. And I thought the ML issue last update was very comprehensive, and you gave some communication out to council reiterating that this is a very fluid situation. And I know it changes, but I do share your opinion that time is of the essence. Councillor McGill, did I see your hand up there?
Yes, I just wanted to, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just wondered if Jill could explain this .5. Every person who contravenes any provision of this bylaw is guilty of an offense, and on conviction is liable to a fine as provided for in the Provincial Offences Act.
Go ahead, Jill.
Through you, Mayor Mayhew. Yes, so this is a bylaw where there is enforcement provisions, but we are certainly not proposing submitting this to the Solicitor General for set fines. This would be if there was an extreme situation where someone was not complying, and this then allows the police or bylaw enforcement to approach through that different structure other than the set fines. They can go to court and use the bylaw for a particular fines, but it is a court process. That's really not the main intent of the bylaw. The main intent is to encourage participation, and frankly, it would be kind of difficult to demonstrate that someone is not meeting one of the exceptions that's listed, because the exceptions are pretty broad in that someone can just let you know that they are unable to wear a face covering or a mask because they have an underlying medical condition, and they're not required to prove it to you. So I'm hard-pressed to think we'd be using this for enforcement. In terms of going to fines, that's not the intent.
No, I think they were deliberately worded that way, and yeah. Council, bring this to a conclusion. There is a motion from Councillor Scholdice, seconded by Councillor Crothers. Are you satisfied, gentlemen, with the motion, or did you wish to make an amendment? Mike, I see your head nod. Just clarify it verbally. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. You're on mute. Yep. Unmute, Mike. Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Could Krista just clarify what her amendment was, if she still needs it specifically?
It was just so that it would be more in line with the Middlesex London Health Unit, so that it wouldn't be mandated that children under 12 wear masks. So currently what our bylaw proposed is saying that anybody 2 and over is mandated. My requested amendment would be 12 and over, which is in line with the Middlesex London Health Unit. And as a parent, my children wear masks. That's not, you know, I don't have a problem with masking. We wear masks. We were wearing masks the whole time. It was just the idea that to mandate children to wear them when the health unit is not mandating them or including them in that. I agree with you that this is something we need to align ourselves with the health unit. I had the opportunity to call the doctor's office today, and I wanted to hear what local health officials had to say, and they were in favor of something like this, from whom I got to speak to there. So I agree with it, but I want us to be as close to the health unit as possible. That's my perspective.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'm good with that amendment, Alan.
Okay. The only other consideration would be under 2 do not wear masks. And you can also say under 12 are encouraged to wear masks, but not, you know, but we can go with that. You know, you can encourage people between the ages of 2 and 12 to wear masks, but it's not mandated. You encourage it, you don't mandate it. And so that would offer some protection to that age segment if you wanted that. You know, it's just a tweak of the word, you know, for the reasons Krista, under 2 are not recommended to wear a mask from a medical perspective, not recommended to wear a mask. Between the ages of 2 and 12 are encouraged, but are not enforced to wear a mask. But suit yourself, it's your motion.
Whatever the wording is, the current wording is with the health unit is fine by me. I think
Okay,
Krista.
that's fine. And we'll take Krista's assumption then, okay? All right, Councillor Crothers, I want to make sure Councillor Crothers is in agreement to that. Are you, Councillor Crothers?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, you're matching the health unit. And Jill, thank you very much. If you can clear this up for us, always appreciate your input.
Sure. Actually, I'll just request clarification. So then is the motion at this point just to amend the bylaw, or and then you want to pass the bylaw later in the section as amended, or do you want to separate out and pass the bylaw here separately?
I think we can do. The chair would like to deal with it now. Let's clean it up. Get it right here. I think it's important. I'd like to resolve it now. And thank you very much, Councillor Scholdice and Councillor Cal, for your input there. And Councillor Crothers.
Mayor Allen, while we're waiting, I just want to say that I agree with Councillor Cowell with the amendment.
Okay, that's great, Martin. Thanks.
Mayor Mayhew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Yep.
Okay, I just have to apologize for being off the meeting for a bit. Unfortunately, I had 95% on my iPad and it went dead, and my phone went dead. So I'm sitting in my car trying to join back into this meeting. And I'm sorry I did miss the first part of this discussion on this. And if somebody could just enlighten me if there was a question or there was any comment on enforcement.
There has been no discussion on enforcement, only that the wording is such that it is the vocabulary is such that it can be enforced. But the conversation, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, was primarily on the under, instead of under 12 are not required to make. There was a change in the bylaw. The bylaw did state that any child under the age of 2 does not have to wear a mask, and it has been stated by the medical community that it's not even prudent for them to wear a mask. we changed that to under the age of 12 are not required to wear a mask.
So it will mirror the health units
Exactly.
bylaw. Yes, okay.
and
I'm
moved by
quite comfortable with that.
Yeah, moved by Shouldice, seconded by Crothers.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm comfortable with that. And I do apologize again.
No problem. It's a height of dedication what you're doing there in your car. That's very good. I'm impressed. All right. Any other questions? Jill, are you satisfied with that? We can approve the amendment, and then I think we'll adopt the bylaw. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
So I've just drafted it that bylaw 2020-048 paragraph 2A1 be amended as follows: to children under 12 years of age, and that the bylaw to impose temporary regulations requiring the wearing of masks or other face coverings within enclosed public spaces be given first, second, third, and final reading.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Thank you, Jill. That'll save us some time.
Mayor Mayhew, may I ask for a recorded vote, please?
Yes, certainly. And Jill, at your leisure, you can call it.
I just had a quick question.
Yes, go.
Are face visors included in this?
There was a discussion that face visors were not as effective as masks from the medical community. And Jill, I'll let you, I see people wearing them, of course, and they do offer some protection, but I understand the element of protection is less than a face mask, and that's been scientifically proven. Jill, could you comment on that?
So sure, it speaks to, in that first section, that member of the public is wearing a mask or a face covering in a manner which covers their mouth, nose, and chin. So
We're covered.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Council, just relax, and Jill will call the vote when she's in a position to do so.
Yeah. One moment. And so Deputy Mayor requested the recorded votes. We'll start with the Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Mayor Mayhew.
Yes.
Councillor McGill.
Yes.
Councillor Carruthers.
Yes.
Councillor Cowell.
Yes.
Councillor Vink.
Yes.
Councillor Bartlett.
Yes.
Councillor Shouldice.
Mike, unmute, please. Yeah, your vote, Mike, yes
Sorry
or no?
about that. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The motion carries.
Yep, carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Before we go into closed session, Council, it would convenience certain members of staff if we pass these bylaws, the balance of them, bylaw 2, 3, 4, and 5. The 2 is the drainage bylaw borrowing, the borrowing bylaw to allow us to borrow money for drainage works. Being a bylaw to appoint division registrars for the municipality, highway dedication, and the confirming bylaw of council.
First, second, and third, Mayor Mayhew.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. A seconder for that. Councillor Shouldice. Discussion, Council. Any questions? Jill? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Crothers. Question?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Curious, we don't have a map here. Where is, what is it, James Street? What is this street? Sorry, this is the street renaming. I don't have the number. I've lost it now. The one that's being changed into a highway, I guess. Where
Number
is that?
4, yeah.
A designation of block 15?
I think so. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so I can speak to that, Mayor
Sure,
Mayhew?
go ahead, Jill.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is with the Vibrant property in Melbourne. Originally, they had requested an easement over the portion that's the cul-de-sac at the top end for just a portion of it, the round part. And then we had a discussion about whether or not they would be maintaining that as a road, as that cul-de-sac is why the reason it's there is so that we can plow the snow. And they requested that this be designated as municipal highway as opposed to it being an easement and they maintaining the property. If you recall, that particular connection to the existing street, I believe it's Victoria Street, there is a cul-de-sac right in there. Now that it's going to be connected, the ends, the bulbous ends of that will be removed and no longer a municipal highway. If that were to ever be the case, that there was a further extension of what is currently been approved, then certainly we could straighten that and adjust it again. But for now, it's just about making that cul-de-sac part of James Street as opposed to it being part of the ownership of the private property.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cal, question?
It was my understanding that we passed a naming bylaw that had us choosing names that were relevant to past individuals who fought for our country from the area within conjunction with the Legion. And I'm wondering how this relates back to that.
Yes, I think Jill's going to tell you it's an extension, I believe. Is it, Jill? Go ahead, Jill.
Yeah, so this subdivision has been underway for a number of years. So the street naming policy actually still needs to be presented to council on that, but certainly council did direct that be considered. But this street would have already been in the works before that would have been in place regardless.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The bylaws have been moved by Deputy Mayor Wilkins, first, second, and third reading. I don't think I got a seconder on that yet. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Crothers. All in favor? First, second, and third reading?
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. Carried. Thank you, Council. Just before we go into closed session, I just wanted to advise Council. We have Kendra Rootley here. Kendra, are you still with us? Unmute yourself if you're there. Kendra?
I'm here.
Good. Oh, you're there. I can't see your face there, but listen, I just wanted to advise Council. I've met this young lady on several occasions. We're very pleased to have her with us. She took Sheila McCann's place, as you know. And Kendra is a very enthusiastic addition to our staff at Southwest Middlesex. And Kendra, I didn't want us to go into closed session before I tipped my hat to you there. Okay, so thank you very much for joining our team.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Can I have a motion that we move into closed session to discuss labor relations issue? Thank you, Councilor McGill, for moving that. Seconder, Councilor Bartlett. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Deputy Mayor, I can hand the